Everybody, this is Oh, let me repeat myself. Hi, everybody. This is Rashan. I'm the Regional Director for Employer Engagement, particularly focused on advanced manufacturing. Like Monica said, we have started this about 4 months ago, I believe. Time flies. And we had this webinar going only because everyone is virtual now, but we want to find a way to still provide consistent professional development for both faculty and administrators. So welcome to this meeting today. Just want to quickly talk about why are we here today. So today the topic is on Lean Six Sigma, and we actually invited 3 professionals from industry to talk to us about Lean Six Sigma. So a lot of people probably felt that when you think about advanced manufacturing, we all just think about CAD, CAM, designing, manufacturing processes, or quality. But a very big part or overarching theme every time we step into a manufacturing place, it doesn't matter if it's a small, medium, or large, everyone in there probably has to breathe and live and breathe Lean Six Sigma. And it's such an important concept that I have find it so useful for me in both my professional and personal life. So before we go into this topic where we have Lean Six Sigma Institute and also Carl Cornely from Solar Turbines, I'm going to hand it over to Monica Rosas to give us some quick overview of some of the upcoming manufacturing activities coming up. Monica?
Yes, thank you much. It's me again. So some of the educators have participated in events with us when we used to have them in person. So every year we put on a professional development event around manufacturing. It used to be day, but now it's more of a month, right? So under the umbrella of Manufacturing Day festivities, you could say, we've always had a professional development for K-14 educators where we bring industry to the mix. We bring someone to talk about labor market information or data, and just educators working together and talking to industry to learn about what's trendy in industry, you could say. Unfortunately, this year, everything's going virtual, so we were kind of like thinking and brainstorming. So we still want to bring the professional development. We are collaborating with San Diego County Office of Education on this and with some of the EDCs, or Economic Development Corporations or Councils, the regional one, East County, South Bay, etc. To bring you guys a PD or professional development a couple of weeks before Manufacturing Day, and this was a suggestion by someone at the County Office of Education, because there's so many activities going on that month that we decided to have ours a couple of weeks before. So it'll be September 23rd and 24th. We will be sending out the registration for this probably by next week. We're just trying to tweak a couple of details. We have an agenda already. Because it's a virtual forum, it'll be 2 days. So the afternoon of the 23rd and 24th, just to give you a little bit of what's going to go on in that event, we want to do a virtual tour of a facility, and we'll have other fun activities throughout the 2 days that we don't want to give away yet. And then we also wanted to bring the awareness of careers in manufacturing for students and educators and even parents, because now parents are with the students at home. So for October, every week on a Wednesday, we are going to have employer sessions where we have 2 employers per day for an hour to talk about the different careers within a manufacturing facility. We actually, at the end of this meeting, have a poll, because we want to poll the educators in the room to see what's the best time in the day to have these weekly sessions in October. So it'll be four times in the month, 4 times 2, 8 employers. So it's going to be fun. Again, we're collaborating with the county office and with the San Diego Regional EDC to bring to your screen industry to talk about the different jobs in the sector. Those 2 events are happening, like I said, in the next couple of weeks. We are not having a skill trades discussion forum for September and October because we're doing these events, and you will see the registration to these events in the next couple of days. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Monica. Is there like a flyer that you will be able to share with us?
So we are working, and I could give you guys a little sneak peek. It's not ready yet, but let me show it to you guys. So we are thinking, and this is not set in stone, we're still working on the type of companies, but we are thinking each week on a Wednesday, kind of like the same day we have the Skill Trades Forum, like today, have two speakers, and it doesn't matter if the student or the educator is in South Bay, they can still learn about the company in North County. And then again, I don't want to be repetitive, but at the end of this meeting, we're polling you guys to see what's the best time. Right now, we just wrote it from 12 to 1, but we want to hear from you. So yeah, that's happening. And the flyer for the PD in September, we're still working on, but we'll send that out next week.
Thank you, Monica. So without further ado, I'm going to have Monica, do you want to introduce George and Karina?
Yes, and then you'll talk briefly about the importance, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
it's really important for, like I mentioned at the very beginning, we actually invited Lean Six Sigma Institute because we know that they have been working with multiple industry, whether it's in San Diego or throughout the nation. So now that, manufacturing is starting to boom in the country, it's very important for, I feel, all of us, educators, administrators, to really understand what Lean Six Sigma is, because ultimately that's what's going to drive the productivity of any company. So that's all I have to say. Let me admit more people in.
Oh, yeah. Okay, and I'll be brief. I'm going to read a little snip of Jorge's and Karina's bio. You all should have received the bio sheets over email, but let us know and we can share those with you. So Jorge is an industrial and systems engineer with a specialty in Lean Six Sigma applied to services, sales and marketing, design and manufacturing. He has over 10 years of hands-on experience as a senior consultant in Lean Six Sigma at the Lean Six Sigma Institute. At the Institute, he's a certified master black belt. And I believe that's the highest belt ranking achievable. So congratulations, Jorge, for that. He has guided Lean Six Sigma implementation and training projects for over 25 of the Institute's clients across a variety of industries and throughout a couple of countries, to name a few: the United States, Mexico, Colombia, Guatemala, and Costa Rica. Karina Serrano, she has a bachelor's of science in industrial and systems engineering. She has been at the Institute for over 3 years and has over 3 years of experience as a project manager at Lean Six Sigma Institute, providing a variety of management and professional support across the organization with an emphasis on planning, performance management, operational efficiency, and effectiveness in organizational development. Welcome both. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share of the screen so you guys can upload your presentation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Monica, and thank you, Rishan, for the invitation. Just to be here with you, what you're doing is amazing. Having this reception and the vibe of you getting together, following up with your community, that is awesome. Never lose that. We try to do the same as in the Lean Six Sigma community, and it should be what keeps us alive, right? This is what we do for a living. So let's interact together and let's um, discuss different perspectives, point of view. So thanks for the invitation. As I was saying, this is definitely the peak of my day, probably the peak of my week. So thanks for that. Now let me share my screen. And by now you should be looking at my desktop. Is that correct?
Yes.
Perfect. So I have 3:15. We should be, I know we have 25 minutes, but we're kind of behind the schedule. I will try to keep this short to be respectful with anybody's time, and also with Kyle, who is going to be showing us some examples at solar turbines. So I will try to keep it at 20 minutes if possible, a little bit less than that. And let me go through this webinar, through this topic discussion. Lean Six Sigma Institute. This is the agenda that we prepare for you guys, and this is our contact information if necessary. So first, we want to go with a quick overview about Lean Six Sigma Institute and what's the entity that we represent. Then we're going to get into the introduction to Lean Six Sigma. What is this philosophy, this methodology? Most important, what it is important to understand what may be doing for our processes. Then we're going to get into the lean management content, which is part of the certification process on the methodology. We're going to be talking about the LSSI online university and the lean management benefits. We're also going to talk a little bit about the industry 4.0, which is going to be changing the way we work, the way we interact with each other. So I believe that's going to be really interesting as well. And we're going to have some time for questions or comments that you may have. I'll try to be aware of the chat, so please free to also go with your comments and questions over there. So to start talking about Lean Six Sigma Institute, and I will keep this really brief. I don't want to spend more than 2 minutes over here. I want to jump to the value added and knowledge information that we're here to provide for you today. But really quickly, so as in the name, we're an institution, we're an institute. So we are not a consulting firm. That means that our mission is to create new knowledge, new methodologies. We are always writing new books. We have published 7 books since we started back in 1998. 3 of those books are bestsellers regarding the Lean Six Sigma philosophy implementation, which is basically looking into helping organizations and individuals to be more efficient. Everybody wants to keep things simple. Everybody wants to have processes that are going to be simple to follow up, and definitely that are going to be providing the environment for the key people to communicate to each other. So that is Lean Six Sigma. It's a philosophy that will help us to go through that. And as an institute, as I was saying, we create new methodologies, knowledge. We're always looking into what is new out there to bring it into the methodology. As an example, our vision for 2025 is to have or to be the first innovation center where individuals and companies can go and visit and see how the technology on the industry 4.0, the new technology that is going to be hitting really hard on the following 8 years, it's going to be melting together with these efficient tools, as in 3D printing, as in simulation, as in big data, Internet of Things, and have that real environment teaching philosophy over there. We made our first step into getting that mission a couple of weeks ago. So we moved into a 26 square footage facility where we have a metal shop, a wood shop, a 3D printing file where we can access and start working in this new technology. So that is who we are. That is what we do. We're going to be celebrating our 23rd anniversary in November. So we are hoping to be planning something virtual and interactive as well. So that's Lean Six Sigma Institute, and something that makes us we wanna think that something to make us special is that we didn't just work and implement this kind of philosophies into the production industry where it grew up and where it basically born. We like to implement these philosophies into government services, hospitals, restaurants. Once again, the idea is if you have a process, you have people working together, you have a specific steps that you need to develop to satisfy your customer. And the idea is to keep that simple, understand how to communicate and interact within each other. So how we help? Really quickly as well, we provide for individuals training and certifications. We're part of the Council for Six Sigma certification, which means this is a really robust and a strong methodology applied around the world. If you go to Indeed or to any word search engine, you're going to realize there are so many role descriptions looking for knowledge and experience in Lean Six Sigma. And there is a whole level certifications that we also provide to individuals, from the very basic level, which is lean management, going through the white belt, up to the black belt and master black belt certification, as Monica was telling you a little bit about those levels, right? So we provide training and certification in all those different levels into achieve the knowledge, but not only the information, but also the experience on how to implement these philosophies. And we also help businesses in their project implementations, companies that are looking into become a Lean Six Sigma practitioner. We help them going through a three-step, three phases project into transform and turn around um, through this philosophy. We also provide problem solving, as in layout redesign, lead time reduction, quality improvements. We get into lean energy as well, value engineering, simulation, lean assessments. So that's just to give you an idea of who we are. As I promised, I try to keep this really simple, just to give you an idea of who we are and what we do. So that is Lean Six Sigma Institute. And with that said, let me get into the objectives. Objective number one should be to talk with you and discuss a little bit about the elements on the Industry 4.0. As I was saying, these are the technologies or the elements in the technology that are going to be changing the way we work, we communicate, basically we live. So we're going to be talking about that and how this is interacting with this kind of efficiency tools. And then we're going to be talking about Lean Six Sigma. What is this philosophy? How does that work? What's the process for implementation? Then we're going to talk about if we want to get efficient into any process, the key is going to be to understand the waste and variability we may be having in our daily activities. And please don't take me the wrong way. I don't want to be disrespectful in any way. Because if you are here, if you're part of this community, it's because you are successful and because you have talent and experience to talk by yourself. But anytime you're going to be looking into a process, anytime you're going to be looking into a specific set of activities, there you have a process. So there you can simplify your process and become more efficient. So that's the idea, as simple as that. And also we're going to be talking about the strategies and personal competitiveness that this will be bringing into the table, right? Welcome, Ernesto, to the webinar. Good to have you as part of the attendees. So let's talk about the background. And the very message that I want to share with you is change is a constant. It's always going to be a constant, and we need to adapt to new technologies, to new products, to new competitors, to new market niches, right? There's always going to be something new. There's always going to be an urgency. Unfortunately, this year, we had to adapt to a new normality, which was probably the most aggressive change we have lived for the last 10 years in terms of work environments. So there's always going to be changes. There's always going to be an environmental element where we need to adapt. And this is just part of the evolution on the industry, you know. Back in 1784, imagine a world living without the steam power and mechanization. That was the very first industry revolution. That was Industry 1.0, when James Watt created the steam machine. 100 years later, actually 86 years later, the Industry 2.0 arrived with the technology for the mass production, with the elements for the scientific management, and also the electricity, right? This was a huge and revolutionary environment now for all those, not only industries, but also services provided at that time. The third industrial revolution, Industry 3.0, arrived in 1960, right? As you can see, the same 90 years later. And here we're talking about electronics, we're talking about computers, right? And we're not even mentioning about the 80s, 90s, when the internet was a boom, right? But by that time, also some quality methodologies, Six Sigma, the theory of constraints, the Toyota TPS, which are part of the methodologies on the industry, they start hitting hard in terms of, once again, if you have a process, you can have a simplest process. You can become more efficient every time, and that is continuous improvement. So continuous improvement starts back in 1960 with also all these technologies. And I just started this slide mentioning change is a constant. There are always going to be changes on the environment. And the next big change, the next industrial revolution is going to happen on the 2020s. The gurus on our time are saying the industry 4.0 is gonna be hitting hard by 2026, 2028. And here we're talking about the Internet of Things. We're talking about automation. We're talking about artificial intelligence. So uh, considering all these new changes and also the new normality that we're living in, you can see my point, right? There's always going to be changes. There's always going to be new methodologies. And the invitation here is to understand how the technology may be working in our favor and how can we use this into our advantage to make sure we're continuously improving. And it's just about that, right? So industry 4.0, if you're familiar with this concept, you probably know that there are 10 elements around the industry 4.0. Automation and robots, which is going to be not only having mechanization and specific machines, we're talking about intelligence, artificial intelligence. We're talking about simulation. You know, we're going to have the ability to recreate real environment circumstances into specific softwares and see how if we change the market message, if we change our capacity, if we change our service time, if we change our space on the space on our facilities, if we change some steps on the processes, what is going to be the result? And we're not going to be required to go and make those changes in the real in our real process. We're going to be able to simulate that. And you know what? We also are going to be able to use augmented reality, VRs, and get our VR helmets and actually see how this is going to be looking like. And you know what? Imagine, right? 5 years from now, 8 years from now, how if we have a new person in our company, if we're going through the onboarding process, they're going to be able to use their RV helmets to learn about the process, to interact with virtual customers. So this is revolutionary. We're also going to have system integration. Right now we have so many systems. We have databases in Excel, we have MRPs, we have CRMs, we have marketing campaigns, web pages, we have administrative task softwares. So we have so many elements over there. The future is going to be trying to make sure we are going to have organic integrations over there, and you're not going to be required to go through all those elements to being able and develop your processes. The Internet of Things, as the Amazon stores works right now, if you go to New York or to San Francisco, make sure you get into the Amazon stores and realize how you're going to be getting into the store, getting out of the store, you're going to be receiving the check on your cell phone, and that's it. So cashiers are not going to be longer necessary. So those changes are going to be, those elements are going to be totally changes the way we work, we communicate. And that is industry 4.0, right? As an example, and as I was saying, simulation softwares that are going to have the ability or the skills to recreate, look at here, recreate your physical sites or your sites, your processes, and you're going to be able to get a VR helmet and walk through your process and see those changes, and you're going to be able to run pilot exercises, experiments on your process without overwhelming the people and the current processes you may be having over there. So that is industry 4.0. And as we were saying, this is about keep our processes simple, right? Companies and processes that have a slow delivery service, inconsistent quality, high cost and prices, poor internal communication, which is really common. Those companies are destined to vanish. And I don't want to be that dramatic, right? But if we learn something about 2020 is that it's not the big who eat the small anymore. You are not bulletproofing, right? Now it's about how quick can you react to those changes, and not only readapt but adapt to those new changes. This year was the COVID, but there's always going to be, as I was saying, a new customer, new technology, new market share. So I don't want to be that repetitive, but there's always going to be something. And the fastest you can react to that, the fastest you can adapt, the fastest you can change your processes, the more successful your team is going to be. And that is Lean Six Sigma, a methodology that will let us understand our process, let us identify restrictions and bottlenecks to keep things simpler, to keep things more efficient. Now, you can increase your productivity, you can become more productive from a quantitative approach and have more people on your process and have new softwares and new web pages and automations. You can go with larger investments as well. And that is going to be a viable resource. That's totally okay. That's totally fair. What Lean Six Sigma as a philosophy, as a methodology, as a methodology offers is look into this perspective, eliminate the waste and simplify our processes, not working harder, but working smarter. That is the Lean Six Sigma approach. And if you can combine this approach with, once again, investments, softwares, technology, people, you can also go with working harder, but let's be honest, how long can we keep the work harder attitude through all the time, through all the urgencies we may be daily offering, right? So the idea is, as I was saying, keep it simple, understand your process and simplify your process. So I know that uh, we have 7 minutes left, looks like. So what I'm going to be doing is I prepared this testimonial. It's about three minutes length. And this is going to be talking about Lean Six Sigma. This is going to help me to explain the philosophy. And then I can jump into lean management and make sure I can be also respectful with the agenda. Oh, actually, we have 4 minutes left. Okay, so let me do something, Rishan. If this is okay, I can send you the link to check into what is this testimonial, Lean Six Sigma applying to a specific company, and I can go and talk about the video is going to drive you through the limitations on productivity and how these limitations, if you understand how to see those and address those, your process is going to become more efficient because now you're going to understand what's happening from the moment that we place an order or from the moment that the customer places an order up to a moment that you invoice for that service and product. And the idea is to identify that non-value added time, transform that into value added time, and make sure your reaction time, your adaptation time becomes smaller. You're gonna be faster to adapt and react. So that is the idea. Lean Six Sigma is gonna be about improving your flow, your service flow. How quick can we provide the services to our students, to our personnel, to our internal personnel? And that is going to happen by eliminating variability and waste in our process. And also making sure we can have quality or we can get to new quality levels, addressing the variability in our processes, having new people, having different working styles, all that is going to be having variability as a consequence. So this is going to be a path for improvement. Benefits are going to be in cost, capacity, ability to react on time, right? And in soft savings, a better communication and a team that is going to be integrated and working in the same page. The certification level goes from the first level, lean management, up to the master black belt. And the lean management is really interesting because with this, you're going to be able to get into the introduction to the philosophy and also into a business model, right? Understand how we work. If I tell you right now, imagine a red car, everybody's going to think in something different. Imagine now when we talk about our community college services, it's going to be, the vision is going to be hard to communicate. So if we can have a tangible way to say, look, this is my idea, this is what I'm looking for, and then transform that into a working plan that is built under the understanding of our restrictions and limitations, and we can create the correct environment to have the people communicating in the right forums to make decisions, so we can also address the talent development in our company, where imagine how powerful all these tools are going to be working together. And that is what we work into the lean management um, uh, training course over there. We have our online university, and we have the resources to go with pre-recordings to live sessions. So it's a really friendly environment. Um, it's a really friendly environment to learn and to go through all these new methodologies. And this is my last slide. As part of the benefits into this implementation and this training certification levels, the idea is to have a way and understanding of not only implementing Lean Six Sigma. You know, the idea will be to, okay, let's create my own way, the community college's way. This is how we work. This is how we interact with it within in our internal teams, and also in the community. Aligns the management team with what's actually happening in our current processes, how we provide services to our students, to professionals and individuals looking for new solutions over there. Reduce the time from our services, simplify our processes, make sure we understand who my customer is and what is expecting from our institutions, right? Are we addressing the requirements that they are expecting, and how well are we addressing it? And most important, each part of the process, to understand how they're also providing those expectations to the customers. That's what's gonna really get us into teamwork and enhance the strategic planning discussion. So if you look at this, and as a conclusion, this is a way of work. This is a philosophy. It's gonna help your team to talk and start using new tools, new language, to just make sure we can understand how my process works and how we're going to be always and continuously improving our efficiency. So that is Lean Six Sigma, and I hope I'm not messing around with the agenda, Rishan. I hope I did it on time, to be respectful with everybody's time.
You're good. Thank you, George. Thank you so much for the presentation. And I'm glad you were able to touch on Industry 4.0, because this is something that's very important, especially if we want to compete on a global scale. Integrating Industry 4.0 is almost a necessity now. So thank you so much. And, and I know, Karina, you said you will be sending us the presentation, so really appreciate that, because we have a couple of folks who were not able to attend, but we really appreciate the recording and the presentation. Thank you. Okay, so next on, well, we only have 20 minutes left, but it's going to be a pretty exciting one, because I actually I have the honor to invite one of my ex-colleagues, Kyle Connerly, to speak to us. We actually worked together for almost 3 to 4 years, I believe, in Johnson Matthey, and now he has moved on to Solar Turbines, and I have moved on to the college system. Okay, so I want to give a really quick overview of who Kyle is, and then Kyle is probably gonna give us an overview of why Lean Six Sigma is important, and how has it helped his career grow over time, and how we can actually use this information to actually bring it back and think about how we can revise our curriculum, or even how you can help our students. So, okay, Kyle is a business excellence leader and Six Sigma Black Belt at Solar Turbines. He has experience in planning and directing site improvement, Kaizen, efficiency maximization, and staff training programs and projects. He offers a record of success in the management of continuous improvement, corporate quality engineering, and sustainable operations. So I'm not going to expand further, because I'm going to let Kyle do the rest. So Kyle, you're next.
Thank you, Rashawn, and
Feel free to share your screen, Kyle.
Yeah, feel free to share your screen. Oh, Kyle, are you still there?
It looks like you froze.
Kyle, you froze. Or I can share my screen. Let's see.
He'll probably join, but maybe if you have his presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that.
Here he is.
Oh.
Welcome back. You're muted. You're muted. I cannot mute you.
Oh, he is still. Are you still there, Kyle? Sorry, everyone. Apologies for the glitch. So I'm going to go ahead and share Kyle's PowerPoint and maybe just have Kyle talk to it.
I think that's a good idea. Thank you, everyone, for your patience.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Kyle.
Three's a charm, let's hope. So I'm gonna go without video to see if maybe that helps with bandwidth issues.
Yeah.
So.
No, I can always share the screen, so don't worry.
Okay. So let's see what I got. Okay, let's go with one.
Yay. We see it.
Got it?
Yeah.
Right. So get this flipped over. There, got the full screen view?
Yes.
Okay. So like I said, biggest thing I wanted to go through here was just to kind of how I ended up in the Lean Six Sigma world and kind of what it's done for me over the last 7 or 8 years that I've been involved in it. So kind of what I'll do is I'll just kind of give a brief intro, kind of like who I am in the work world, and also kind of just a little bit about me as a human being, how I ended up in Six Sigma, and then kind of what it's done for me, but then also some of the things I've learned as a result, because as with any learning situation, it's not always the smoothest thing in the world. And I think that sometimes the lesson learned are just as important as the things that didn't quite go the way you thought. So, okay, so I started my life, you know, as pretty much anybody else, as a lot of the people in my neighborhood, as driving and delivering pizza, and then played high school sports and then wanted to be a coach. Then while I was going through school, I had to find a way to pay for school. So I worked in a few different bars as a security guard, and then finally graduated and got a job as a quality engineer with Johnson Matthey, where a few years after that is where I ran into Rashawn. And then I became the lean champion, eventually a production supervisor, and then got an opportunity to move over to Solar Turbines and become a business excellence leader across their enterprise. So that's quick work life. So then a little bit about me. So I was born in LA, but I've essentially lived my entire life in San Diego. My family moved down when I was 2 years old, and I got my degree in astronomy from San Diego State, where I also had the ability to play 4 years for the football program, which was a dream come true because I actually grew up watching them play. And so you can understand the pain I'm feeling this year as we know that everything around this sport is in a serious state of limbo. So and then a few years after that, I met my wife, got married in 2010, And I now have a 5-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter who are now dealing with this same distance scenario that we've already touched on a little bit. So their first day of school is tomorrow. My wife started today, so we'll see how things go. So why Lean Six Sigma? Why did I join this world? Well, essentially it was one word: curiosity. So coming in as a quality engineer, you know, root cause analysis is one of the biggest things that we're involved with. So always asking, you know, why did this happen? The basic 5 why strategy, you know, is there a better way? Is there a pattern to what's going on? All these things kind of got my management's brain spinning, and they wanted to take advantage of this. I said, okay, let's not dull this curiosity. Let's see if there's something we can do with it. And so they moved me into a newly created position called Lean Champion. And as a part of this role, your job is to look at, you know, what ways can we do to improve our manufacturing operations in a nutshell. And so this was back in 2012. And then shortly after that, I got my Six Sigma black belt. So biggest things I'd say come out of this, learned obviously some of the different technical tools the social problem solving techniques, because as these people will know, it's not always what you know, it's what the other people know and also think they know. And just the element of change itself is one of the hardest things you'll ever deal with. So understanding how to get people to see your perspective and understand that you're not coming in to tell them that they're doing something wrong. It's more, hey, is there a way to take your skills and improve on what's going on? So those were, that I would say I circled that because that was one of the more critical things that I felt that I learned that they wouldn't have just picked up by doing the job. So obviously this created some opportunities. So problem solving is a universal language. And as a result, I ended up running projects through these 3 different areas. And then I do take this home and I go through and I will do 5S projects at my house just because I get tired of the clutter. But, you know, manufacturing, HR, finance, generally thought as 3 very different realms. You can take the same concepts you learned as a black belt and apply it in any of these, and they will get the results that they are looking for. So, and this is kind of why. So they all had different problems that they needed to solve, but they also wanted some sort of structure. You know, how do we know that we're working through the right things? You know, what can we do to keep track of our progress? Are we on track? Are we off? And then another big thing that I like personally coming in is when I'm coming into a project, I'm generally coming in with an unbiased viewpoint. So I'm not coming in as a machinist going, I think there's a problem here and there's another machinist that doesn't. With HR, I'm coming in, they have their rules they have to abide by. And since I'm not in that, I can just ask questions that they may just have assumed answers to, because we all have been there where you come into a problem, you just kind of get used to the issues around you and you stop seeing them. So coming in with that unbiased, clean view, a lot of times helps kind of get some of those low-hanging fruit problems taken care of a little easier. In the home life, sometimes my family likes it, other times it drives them nuts a little bit, but it does kind of keep things a little bit smoother for us. But that's kind of that stage. So what did this do for me going forward? So like I said, I got a degree in astronomy. So did I go work for NASA, JPL? No, I went and worked for a medical device manufacturing company, became a quality engineer. And then from that, I ended up being, right before I finished my tenure at Johnson Matthey, I was their cost accountant essentially on site. So not exactly a normal growth plan, but you know, how did that happen? Well, it's because I asked a question. It was a very simple one when I was working with our continuous improvement director. And it was, you know, what's the right problem to solve first? And we're saying, okay, well, it's going to be cost driven. You know, where are our biggest costs that aren't really showing any kind of returns? You know, where are our wastes? And we didn't really know. There was no cost model. So we couldn't look at our products and go, okay, well, let's focus here. Let's focus on this area. So essentially we just said, okay, well, we need to build one. And that project took probably about a year, a little over a year to get done. But in doing so, I had to work with the HR team because I had to know the different positions. I had to work with finance because I had to understand what budgeting was. I didn't know, you know, the different terminologies. You know, what is considered overhead? You know, what kind of cost do they spread across the different groups? You know, what's a direct cost? You know, things like that. are things I learned by partnering with them. Manufacturing. So, I mean, granted, I had some work with them as a quality engineer, but it just forced me to work with them, and then engineering as well from the design side. Okay, how many hours are you putting into these things? So what did that do? Well, it opens up a lot of doors. So it was a massive cross-functional project that led to me gaining a lot of new knowledge that I wouldn't have had. And the reason I was able to get into this opportunity is because I went through this Lean Six Sigma Black Belt program that taught me how to solve problems. So it also taught me how to work with people, how to understand different languages, hence that social element that I talked about. You know, because I talked with the finance, I understand it. Now I have a better understanding of budgeting and what their expectations are and why they have the rules that they have. By working with engineering, I understand, okay, what are their design constraints? You know, why do they design things the way they do? Because a lot of times you'll look at something and people ask, oh, why'd they design it this way? By working with them and through these costing measures, you can see what drives them to do that. Manufacturing, okay, you've got finance building the budget, you've got engineering designing something, manufacturing got to find a way to manage that cost and get the product out the door. So all of those things, that's a lot of things I gained in one project that would be tough to gain individually. So Lean Six Sigma, like I was saying, is what really opened this door for me. Had I just stayed a quality engineer, I wouldn't have gained any of this. With my major, none of this would have come through it. It was all because of that Lean Six Sigma and the world that came through it. So, but like I said, not everything always goes smoothly. So you learn things. And this was one of the things that kind of stuck with me right away. And I've heard this forever. You know, you talk to a Psych 101 student, they immediately think they're Sigmund Freud. They know everything. So I kind of had, I'm not going to lie, I had that same kind of mentality when I came out of the Lean Six Sigma training. It's like, okay, I'm the only one on this site with a black belt. I know everything in this world, and that's not entirely true. So I know little bits about it. I know concepts, but I've only done a few elements where I actually had put it into practice. And it's when putting it into practice is where you'll really start to gain the knowledge on what's going to work and in what situation. And then the ability to adapt the various tools and philosophies. So they're not written in stone. So you'll look at, you know, like one piece flow, for example, is a very common concept. In certain situations, one piece flow isn't going to be the best way, but the concept itself is. Okay, maybe, you know, is there a way to look at the concept that it's trying to drive, which is we don't want to finish a whole bunch of things, have them sit, wait for somebody else, to just use that same concept to move materials through. So things like that. That was something that took me a while to learn, and it took me, you know, making a few mistakes before it's like, oh, okay. So that's the first thing I want to share is don't come out thinking you know everything, especially if you're in a world where you're the one that's supposed to be the expert. Be willing to know that there are going to be things, and they're going to know that you're not going to have everything, especially if they just sent you to the training. So also know your audience. Are you talking to an engineer? Are you talking to an exec? Are you talking to a machinist? Those three people talk three very different languages. So when I'm talking to an exec, for example, they're not going to want all the gory details. They're going to want to know, for the most part, dollars. What is this doing for our business? You know, what do you need? What support do you need? When can you get it done? And what are the savings going to be? You talk to an engineer, they're going to want to know all those really nitty gritty details. You know, okay, how is this going to affect the product? What am I going to need to do design wise? You know, things like that. You're talking to a machinist, they're going to want to know how this is going to affect them when they're actually doing their job. So these are these are just, you know, three examples, but these are the ones I dealt with on a fairly regular basis, where I try to talk to them all the same way using the same language and terminologies. And it took me a while. It actually took my boss pulling me aside and say, remember, these aren't all cookie cutter people. So when you're talking to somebody, make sure you remember who your audience is and what you're talking to. So, and the other thing, and I've actually seen this more so in my new position, where we have a lot of black belts that got their black belt back in, you know, the late 90s, early 2000s, and then they've moved on and they haven't really used it. So there's a lot of things that they just have kind of forgotten because they don't use it all the time. So the biggest thing, if you're going to use, you've got to continue to use this, because if you don't, it isn't really like riding a bike. You won't just immediately remember it. You will have to go back and restudy and remember some things. So, but that's why you have people in positions like myself, and that's why you have groups like LSSI out there, for when you get into that situation, there's people that can kind of come in and go, we can help you get back to where you need to be. So the information is out there. The KISS principle, the keep it simple, and then some people use the S for different terminologies, but I'm going to go with silly because of the audience. this is something that I try to do. You know, you try to use the most complex tool to try to get every answer when that's not something that you may necessarily need. I've learned a lot of times that you just map out the process. I'm not even caring about what's moving through. A lot of times people will go, okay, why are we even doing that step when we're doing it 3 times over here? So just kind of visualizing things is probably one of the strongest things that I've known can be helpful to an organization, especially the bigger they get, because the left hand may not always know what the right hand's doing. And that's not because they're not trying to, it's just because things have gotten so convoluted, so complicated, that just getting it on paper, I've learned, is one of the best practices you can have, because then people can start to see it and they can address the issues with whatever tool they feel is necessary. And then track everything. So even what you rule out, because you never know what might have to come back. So and I actually had that in a project when I was working with our gas compressors group, where we had checked something off, said, nope, this doesn't look like it's part of the problem. And then 3 or 4 months later, we look back and go, oh, new information shows that we can't necessarily eliminate this yet. So we we reevaluate it and move forward. But had we just kind of deleted it or not tracked it, we may not have known kind of what was going on. And so just big thing that I've learned is if you don't have some system for keeping track of what you're doing, my favorite for stuff like this from the beginning is the fishbone or the Ishikawa, just because it's very easy to kind of see what the connections are, but different people have different ways that they like to do it. It just, whatever tool you find that works for you, make sure you utilize it. And because when things go sideways, you're going to want to be able to go back and see where your last checkpoint was. So that's kind of all I had presented, and just wanted to open it up to any questions if there are any out there.
Thank you so much, Carl. Do we have questions in the audience?
It looks like Monica has one. She's got a little hand guy up.
Oh, no, I just clapped, but you did a really good job.
Oh, is that what that is? Sorry. Like I said, apologies. I'm more of a Teams guy, so.
Oh, and I've never used Teams. And we have a comment from Jorge on the chat saying that he loves the KISS principle.
Kyle, this
is becoming one of my favorites.
Kyle, this is Mike Bastine. This is Mike Bastine. Hi, great presentation. I enjoyed it. What's the difference between a green belt and a black belt?
The biggest thing, like with the green belt, that was kind of my halfway point to the black belt. The green belt, you'll get a lot of kind of upfront knowledge and what the tools are. With the black belt, it's taking those and really applying them more into deeper projects. So you had to have, for mine, it was like you had to run a project that would generate $40,000 in savings for a green belt. For the black belt, it was $100,000 in savings. And like Jorge's slide was showing, it's almost double the hours in training. And most of it is just diving deeper to get a better understanding of what those tools are that you're being taught as a green belt.
Is the length of training the same amount for the green and the black, or are they about equal? Or
no, the black belt is twice as long. At least my experience was. It was 80 hours of required, I believe, for the black, and it was 40 for the green belt for the program that I went through.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great question.
So just to kind of expand on that, another big thing with the black belt is the element of training. So where you're expected to kind of mentor a lot of the green belt, and that was one of the things I did. You're going to be mentoring the green belts that are coming through, especially if you're growing your program, which when I was working with Rashawn is exactly what we did. So I was the first black belt, and then we had another wave of green belts that we wanted to bring through, and I would mentor them while they were being trained. And green belts can do that, but they just don't have quite as much experience in that deeper element yet. So that's another thing that I would say is an element of the black belt that you wouldn't necessarily get with the green.
Okay, this is Mike again. This particular topic is really popular with employers, and they don't mind investing the funds to their income employers go and take these classes, and it's usually paid for by ETP funds, employment training funds.
Yeah, that was my experience as well. So,
okay, good.
Good questions. Thank you, everyone. If nobody else has any questions, we are going to conclude today's meeting, but I'll let Monica do that. Very sorry for the timing issue today, but I feel that I still got a lot. I learned a lot from these two, LSSI and Kyle. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. And before we close, like we mentioned in the beginning, for Manufacturing Month, we want to poll you guys on the best schedule for the sessions. And then also, Rashawn wanted to add in a question about an introductory Lean Six Sigma certification. So if you could help us with that really fast before you log off, we would greatly appreciate it.